And so these kids face a lot of barriers that prevent them from developing socially, from developing cognitively, and from developing in this sense of their own self-awareness,
Sure.
who they are as a person, and in developing their confidence level to be able to figure things out. You know, if you take somebody who's grown up in a regular home, they're supposed to have, and this is something that you do really well as a father yourself. You've got a 9-year-old son who you guide, and when he takes a wrong step, you're there to prompt him in a positive way to push him the other direction. A lot of these kids don't have that, so they don't understand what it means to be forced to make the right decision, and all of that builds up to when they're thrown money to go to college. They don't know what to do with it.
Correct.
They don't know. Not only are the important aspects of they don't know how to manage their money, but they don't know how to develop their relationships. They don't know where to find resources because they've never been taught how to. They don't know how to interact with people when they're dealing with tough situations in the classroom with their professor or with classmates or with people that live on their dorm floors. You know, I worked with a kid a few years ago, and he was a very bright kid, very, very bright. And he was one of those kids, just like you and me, who everyone said, this dude is pathetic. He's a stupid foster kid who's never going to make it anywhere. But you know what? I worked with him for 1.5 years, and this kid went from being homeless to graduating from high school and playing on the varsity football team, his first year at a new school, and then starting college at a state university.
Wow.
You know why he didn't complete college? Because he made it through 3 full semesters. He was a sophomore at a university. Didn't have the best grades, but he was doing it. And he was completing it. And what got in his way is his ability to cope, his ability to deal with the stressful situations, and his ability to interact with people. He went to jail because he didn't know how to deal with a situation, so he just knocked him out. You know, and yeah, there's a certain point where you're an adult, so you have to deal with these situations. But when you're an 18, 19-year-old kid who's never been taught that, you might have the mentality, the emotional maturity of, what do you say, a 12-year-old?
Yeah, 11-year-old, 13-year-old. I know I did.
Yeah, and so there's a huge need to be able to address that in high school, starting at a younger age, preparing them for these situations, and having some sort of program in place that touches base with them frequently. Having a person who gets them, understands where they're going through, and has it going consistently from an early age. Do you agree?
Absolutely. And you said some really prevalent things in that. I think one of the biggest problems is the lack of mentorship and the lack of guidance before college. Of course, there's pre and post, but what about the pre-college? What about before you go to college? What about dealing with the emotions? And what I found in my research and in my studies is that a lot of kids, before they can even succeed in college, they haven't even learned how to succeed in life. They haven't survived the trauma that they've been through. They haven't learned how to forgive. They haven't learned how to handle anger and emotions. And they haven't learned how to cope or build good relationships. And I think the work that you're doing around trauma is so important, and there's a correlation between trauma and I think kids not succeeding in college, is that we have to deal with it before they get there. So there has to be something put in place. And so if there are people out there who are given a task to work with foster kids before college, before we can even think about college, we have to look at their emotions. Just because a kid looks good doesn't mean that they are good. And my whole thing is some kids don't even believe that they can succeed in college. And they may graduate high school, they may get into a college or pass a test, but can they survive while they're there? So if there's no support, if there's no mentorship, if there's no guidance while they're there, then it's a big problem. And I know one of the things that I've always wanted to look at doing is building collaboration with colleges and actually training colleges and having partnership with colleges to say, when you deal with this population of kids, you have to have something special in place for them. Not that they have to be identified or you have to have foster care services above a door somewhere, but a place where they can go or a counselor they can talk to that they don't have to let anyone else know they're in foster care, but it gives them added resources and added support. And I think another big problem is when kids are turn 18, a lot of them are like, okay, you're 18, goodbye. And it's all doors are closed, and if you're an 18-year-old kid, and you have money to go to school, and you're out there, and on weekends or holidays,
Where do you go?
Where do you go?
What do you do?
And it's funny because the singer Jewel came through the foster care system, and she said when she was in college, she was sleeping in her car in the winter because she didn't have any place to go back to. So I think that those are a lot of factors that play into kids not actually succeeding in college, but there's also more that plays into kids not even understanding the importance of university or the importance of a trade or the importance of getting themselves ready to be competitive in a world that is changing, and you're going to have some type of education to really be able to succeed.